Hello and welcome to our practice this morning. We're going to be working on how to support our Kapha queens in their menopausal transition. So one of the beautiful things about our Kapha ladies is that they have big hearts. And I don't just mean that metaphorically, but the reality is one of the sub-doshas of Kapha is called Avalambaka Kapha, and it's the pericardium, it's the heart and lungs complex. So that's something that as we age in our lives, if Kapha is one of your dominant doshas or dominant part of your nature, we really want to do some proactive work to support heart health. And this is true for all of us, but especially for my Kapha dominant women, because again, we tend to take things to heart, right? And there's an attachment that occurs with Kapha. Kapha has some sticky qualities, kind of like water in dirt or mud, right? It gets sticky and it can attach and accumulate and build. Kapha is one of the building qualities in the body. So when we go through menopause, the tendency is when there's these variations that occur because going to the later stage of life or the menopausal stage of life brings more of the winds of vata in. To counterbalance that, the body will often accumulate to stay more steady. And that's when we see our Kapha ladies have imbalances because of menopause. There's no need to have an imbalance in menopause. It's just a natural transition in life. But we know that how you've taken care of yourself from the first half of your life will be expressed in the second half of your life. So for those of you who may have had a little of my history of maybe not being quite so forthright in my self-care the first half of my life, I sometimes experience imbalances in menopause. And Gina and I were talking about this with our Kapha ladies, and some of the things we notice are some of the qualities of Kapha get too high, or we call in vriddhi, which means there's more heaviness in the system, both emotionally and physiologically, because of the water element accumulating. So edemas will occur oftentimes. The cankle, you know, where your ankle joins your calf and unites in the cankle. Or sometimes you'll see little puffy areas underneath the eyes where it looks like your eyes have a friend they brought along. So that can happen, right? We also see that there will be some issues with congestion and stagnation, or kind of a heavy quality in the mental apparatus, like a fog, they often say, like a mind fog that will occur. Where Vata has this disbursement, Pitta has this super intensity, Kapha gets this sort of blanket or fog that occur. And these are just traditional tendencies. You can have any of them, but people who have more Kapha will accumulate more of these qualities. And then there's a dullness that can occur to your Agni, to the digestive and transformative quality of the physical body, the Jatra Agni and the belly, also the mental and the cellular Agni. So what does that mean? It means there can be some heaviness in the body in general because of digestion. So there could be some weight gain because of that. All the doshas can gain weight in menopause because of the irregularity that's occurring with the thyroid as we transition. If we've not been taking good care of ourselves, our thyroid's still going to stay fairly well stabilized. But again, this is not our nature in the world today, is to really look inward and do lots of great self-care in your teens, 20s, 30s, and early 40s. So we're going to see issues with things like depression that can occur because there's not a lot of cleansing out. There's more stagnation and holding on to memories and to thoughts and to feelings. And this can also accumulate because the heart becomes heavy-hearted. There's actually a heartbreak syndrome that can occur in heart disease where we see heart-related issues. So these are just some hallmark things that can occur and cause a lot of difficulty in our transition. We want to support you with your daily yoga asana and pranayama and deep relaxation practice so that those things will not occur as much or maybe not at all for you. And so that's some of the things that Gina and I are going to be demonstrating today with our practice. Some things you can do, however, at home, either before practice or after in your daily life with your routines, are to really do some gentle cleansing things like tongue scraping in the morning to get rid of the residual undigested ama that's on the tongue, this gooey, sticky quality that can gum up the shrotomsi, the central channel in the body, and also eventually over the course of time, months and months and months, create some stagnation in thinking and feeling. You want to be able to do some types of rhythmic warming practices. So even if you're doing your yoga, it might be nice if during the day, if you sit at a desk perhaps, that you get up and you take a walk outside, for example, just to get those joints and glands moving and get the endocrine glands really cleansing and moving the blood through and the plasma through to cleanse out any heavy qualities. The heart was reclassified as an endocrine organ, so it was a muscle forever. And then just recently, in the last decade, it was reclassified as an endocrine organ. It's the first organ that begins to work as an embryo, and it's the last organ to operate as we die. So the heart has this beautiful containing quality, and it is something that we must take great care of. So these asana practices and pranayama practices we're going to be sharing today are specifically to support heart health for our kapha dominant queens as they go through menopause. Something else you can do for the heart is to do some practices with your daily actions that create a sense of letting go of attachment to feelings. This is very difficult to do for all of us, especially difficult for my kapha queen sisters. And so I want you to think of some things you can do, maybe joining a group which talks about their feelings, their love in their life, the regret perhaps and the grief in a very supportive and kind manner without dwelling on negativity, but just having a way to articulate these feelings to a group that is sensitive and compassionate so you can begin to let them go. Let them evacuate out of your system in that way. So having like-minded friends who are working on their own history in life and finding a way toward forgiveness and closure so that they can move on and enjoy the beauty of their life as it is today and the future that you have in this last stage of life, this expanded aspect of ourselves when we can relax back into who we truly are. So let's get started with our practice. We're going to be working with the breath of joy beginning. There's different ways to do this, but we're going to do it standing because one of the things we have to do to support kapha balancing in menopause is stimulating. So unlike the other two doshas that we talked about, kapha queens tend to get a little sedentary, so we gotta get you going. Once you get going, we can't stop you, right, June? But it's getting you going that's the key. So this pranayama is beautiful at beginning to light us up and get us going in the morning. And if you start feeling it like late afternoon, some of the like kind of thungeries and that low energy, maybe not in the middle again of the target, but you can try to find a way to do this at home or when you're on a walk to kind of stimulate some prana in the body, really begin to animate that energy. So this is called the breath of joy. There's a few other names, but that's what we're going to talk about it as today. And we're going to basically sip in with an inhale to arms front, sip in the inhale, arms side, inhaling again up, and then exhale sharply down. So inhale, 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 and down. Let's do 3 of them vigorously, June. There you go. Notice how I'm watching her do this. It's good. Nice. Last one. Beautiful. And then just let yourself relax and sort of notice the stimulation. We've moved the vayu, the Vyam vayu, circulating the whole body, moving energy. Sometimes my nose itches after this because I just, I'm breathing really heartily. But there's a lot of oxygenation to the pericardium, decreasing stagnation. Wonderful to decrease that heavy, dull quality. Sometimes if you have a little bit more mucus in your system as we get towards the seasonal changes, you might need to have tissues nearby. That is often an outcome of doing breath of joy is nose blowing. So today we're good. We're good to go for June. Okay, great. So next we're going to begin with doing sun salutations. So everyone has a different way of doing these. And what we want to show you today is really a lunging model. And we'll talk about why. But as June takes this, she's going to take more of a sun salutation, letter A, you might see from Ashtanga, by using the movement of the body up and down, right? Stretching through the heart and chest as she lifts, and then coming down and stepping into a lunge. So you can do these lunges with your knee on the ground, but we'd like you to try them with the knee off the ground because it's more stimulating and requires more muscular energy. So unlike the other asana practices we've talked about for doshas, Kapha dosha needs to have the work of more muscular energy stimulation because it tends to get heavy and dull. So June is doing her downward facing dog after her lunges. Then she's going to come down through the knees, chest, and chin to the ground and then take herself into cobra pose. So a nice gentle back bend, warming up and stretching the pericardium and enlivening the energy in the tissues. Coming back down and taking a brief moment back in downward facing dog before she completes this one sun salutation. So June's been working hard while I'm talking, moving all the joints and glands and really finding a way to begin to bring prana into the tips of her fingers and toes, tops of her head, through all the mamsa, all the meda, all the tissues, all the adipose fat. And then she's going to do it again. So when we're doing this particular round of sun salutation, lifting up from Uttanasana, coming back down, stepping back into a lunge, really feeling the body work from the ground up, energy lifting up to the heavens. And then in downward facing dog, stretching in a long fashion through the hamstrings in the back. Again, rooting down to lift up and aerate, using muscular energy and strength, bala, strength, to move our bodies. Nice. Beautiful, June. Coming all the way down. Then she's going to take herself into that back bend, stretching through the pericardium, contracting and squeezing the back muscles at the back of the heart, creating warmth and heat. Lots of friction in this particular sun salutation. Then coming back to her downward facing dog for just a moment. Nice. So let's stay here actually for 5 breaths. Let's do a little bit longer. Again, kind of really opening up, moving through those hips, feeling the energy move back and away, pressing through the index finger and the thumb, sealing to the ground. So she's feeling the armpits have a little hollowing and really lifting up and using her muscular strength, right? So unlike the folks that are more pitta dominant, who we want to pull back the intensity, with Kapha, we want to get that intensity going so we can fire that muscle and decrease any stagnation and build heat. Kapha tends to get cold, so we're going to build heat. Getting warm, June? Yeah, good. Okay, now she's going to step up and come on out of her sun salutation. Beautiful. Nice. So as that goes, we're going to have you stand back in the middle of the mat, June, facing out, and we're going to do an Agnisara prep. So you have all kinds of videos on Yoga International about Agnisara. Please check one of those out if you don't know this practice. What we're going to do first is warm up again the back body and get some nice movement in the spine. So she's going to do a little standing cat-cow pose. So she's really just going to be stretching the spine in different directions here, trying to warm up the musculature of the body. It takes a long time to warm up Kapha. Kapha has very dense joints with lots of wrapping around the joints. So you really got to stir that pot to get it going. So we're doing lots of things to warm and move, building lots of warmth in the system. It's not that we want you to get sweaty, but we want you to get warm, all right? And June's even worn her sweater today, so she stays warm. So that's how we know. A pitta, I would already have my top off. It would be so hot. So she's nice and cool by nature. Beautiful. And then come up to a standing position for just a second, June, and then we're going to talk about Agnisara. So there's lots of ways to do this. What I really want us to do today is like an Agnisara prep. So we're not going to do the full belly pumping, but if you have that practice, that would be the time to do it, would be now. We're going to build warmth just by drawing the belly in and up for Uddiyana Bandha Kriya. So she's going to take herself into the pose. She's going to inhale just like she did in cat-cow for a second and open up the pericardium and bring all that prana in, oxygen in. Exhale, she's going to close off the root of the body and draw the chin toward the chest. As she finishes the exhalation, a vacuum will naturally occur and the belly will draw in and up. Now, she's going to do this a few times and hold the breath out as long as she can with comfort. And then inhale, release all the bandhas and locks and do it again. So let's do it 3 times, June. Nice. So the other thing you can do in this pose at the end, once you've got that belly drawing in and up, if it's within your practice, is to release the muscle and then contract it back, which is belly pumping, which is traditional Agnisara practice. There's also a cleansing kriya we do in yoga and Ayurveda called nulli, which is a rolling of the abdominal muscle. Any of these would be appropriate to do at this point in time in your practice if you're having kapha imbalances that are creating stagnation and dullness and heaviness. And it helps with heart health because what we're doing is really working with the body's ability to circulate fully while supporting digestion, right? So these are things we need to do to decrease that type of imbalance. What about the edemas in the water? Well, the more we circulate, the more we're going to be able to move that water out of its stagnated channels. Beautiful. Let yourself come back up when you're ready, June. Nice. So just rest. Let's just shake it out a little bit. Then we'll get those joints and glands shaken out. Nice. I'm just going to shake it out with you. Do a little mini Zumba class right here in the middle of yoga. Nice. And then we're going to let ourselves come down the mat for more of a traditional cat-cow pose. So again, we're going to be working on moving that spine. This time we're on the ground doing it because she's fairly warmed up, but we need to continue warming. Nice. Beautiful. Now, if I were working with folks that had other dosha dominance, I might have them move through child's pose, but not June. No, no, no. Not my Kapha queens. Those gals get to keep moving so we can get the warmth going. Beautiful. So once I think that she's got enough warmth in the back body so that we know that we're able to take our back bends, then we can stop the particular warming action of cat-cow pose and set her up for our apex pose for this particular class, which is going to be camel, Ustrasana. Beautiful. We're going to use the blocks. And you want them up high, June, or you want them on the side?
Medium.
Medium. Yeah. Medium. Just going to set those up. Now, if we were at a wall, we would have June's hips pressing into the wall, and that would kind of be our guide with the hips pressing into the wall, that she doesn't want to go too far back, leaning back through her quadriceps. But we don't have a wall, and that's okay. We're going to use the blocks as our other way to measure, all right? And it's really useful to have these. I always have mine up on the tallest because I don't have as much flexibility in my back as June does. So you got to find that right spot. We're going to use the breath to move in and out of camel, opening up one side and then the other. So she's leaning back with one side and then coming out. So notice how she's moving in a way there's no strain in the breath. I'm not hearing anything in the breath. There's a soft ujjayi and coming up. Beautiful. Let's try the other side. So she's finding a way to move and touch down. Nice. Woo. I'm going to move out of the way. I'm going to get it. There you go. One more time. Nice. So this might be what you're doing for your camel practice, which is fine. And then get nice and still. So noticing there's length in June's back. She's not crunching the back. So she's lifting up, out, and over. So this is really tricky. It's actually, for me, I think it's a very advanced pose because my tendency, my nature is to want to win the pose. I have a little more heat in my system. So I tend to go further back than my capacity. So just be very careful about that for yourself. We're not looking for you to take the full pose necessarily. We're looking for you to make the motion of stretching, lifting, and bringing enlivenment and energy to what can become heavy, dull, and sticky. So now June's going to move back into the pose and hold for a second. Nice. Whoops. Beautiful. Tips of her fingers, top of her toes. You can bring the chin all the way in first. See how that feels? Right, working with Udon Vayu, and if it's within her nature, which I think it is for June today, she can go all the way down and let the head go back. Beautiful. This, my friends, is going to decrease any heaviness, stickiness, any of that lethargy, and it's very difficult to be holding grief heavily while you're sitting in a pose that's so open and expressed. Her breath is even, so she's not struggling. There's no roughness to the breath, and so I know that she's able to hold this pose with ease. And then as she's ready, she's going to very gently draw herself out of the pose, lifting. Beautiful. Back coming up again, looking at that length in the back. So this is a challenging pose, and I don't want you to feel like if you can't take the full expression, you shouldn't try it. I would actually try the half version first, just moving back and touching and coming back up. And that might be enough to get that stretch in the body. Yeah. There she is. I like that. It's kind of a Miss America movement. It's mean of me to make her laugh in the pose. There we go. Come on, back up. Beautiful. So what do we do after this? This is a very intense back bend. What we're going to do after this is begin to work on counterbalancing, but not by going to child's pose. We don't want to get that paperclip effect. So doing something which allows the body to be nice and long. Actually, I think what we're going to do, June, let's do locust pose just as a little stretch to lengthen out of it. So she's going to lay on her belly, and we're not taking the locust pose in the most full expression. Actually, let's hold down the legs. You might want to find some nice yoga teacher that can help you with this. You know, it just comes to your house. And while I draw her legs down, she's going to inhale and very gently lift the heart off the ground. Nice. Exhale down. So why is this a counter pose and why is this useful for our kapha imbalance for menopause? It's because we're still stretching through the heart, but we're stable on the body. And we're not getting any crunching in the back. She's really just moving from the thoracic spine up, right? Beautiful, June. Turn your cheek to one side and rest for a second. So these types of asana with this type of even, soft ujjayi breathing is going to warm up the whole system and decrease that heavy, dull, and sticky quality that can happen with imbalances as we move through menopause in kapha. Sometimes in kapha we'll have a weight gain issue. That happens for many different reasons. The difference in Vata, Pitta, and Kapha with weight gain and menopause, I'm going to have you turn your cheek to the other side, June, is that Vata will gain weight and lose it. You know, gain 40 pounds, lose 40 pounds because of the irregular digestive fire. Pitta will mainly gain in the middle, this sort of apple effect because of the high cortisol levels in our body from overusing to overstriving and the ambition over the years. Kapha will gain weight slowly and keep it. Kapha doesn't like to let go. So what will happen is they might gain more because of the water in the lower parts of the body, right? So you might see more of a pear-shaped presentation in that way. So I don't want you to be alarmed by that. And by doing this type of asana practice, you're actually burning the Agni at a higher rate so it's not so dull. And then the tendency to gain weight will slowly, over the course of time, decrease. All right. We're going to get June up now from her mini little cat nap there. Come all the way up. And we're going to put her in a restorative pose, but a restorative pose that decreases the tendency for heaviness in the heart. So we're going to use our blocks for this. And we're going to set them up in this fashion with a bolster over them. So if you don't happen to have blocks at home, great holiday gift. Get some blocks. And you can use this in this way. You could also do this with maybe a pillow or a cushion. I think this is going to be better. Oops. Here you go. And June's going to sit right down at the bottom of that and let herself lean out over it. Nice. With a little ponytail massage there. You comfy? Mm-hmm. Does that feel stable? Yeah. Okay. Now, when the knees are up, one of the other things we can do, I'm just going to do this with a bolster here. I'm going to reach over you, June. Put this underneath her knee. So when she puts her knees down, there's no resistance, right? There's no problem with that. And I'll roll up a blanket for the other side. So you got to use what you got, right? And we're going to put this on underneath the other knee. So that way her hip flexor can let go, because it's being supported. Her arms are open, the chin is down, the head's in a nice long position. And then we're going to give her a little extra love and support because our Vata ladies, Kapha queens, need to have support too. Even though you have a lot of support in your nature, it's Vata time of year for all of us. And everybody needs to have that little blanket of love and kindness put over them. There we go. We'll tuck it right by her chin. So June's going to lie here. She doesn't seem too upset by that. Yeah. And let herself relax. But what we're doing here also is opening up. So we're decreasing stagnation. There's just a very gentle stretch on the body by reclining in this manner. And there's a lot of support coming to the body. So one thing I don't want you to misunderstand in how we Kapha balance for menopausal issues created by an abundance of Kapha, more than is in your normal super secret sauce, is that we don't want to decrease support, but we want to increase movement and animation and warmth. We need to do a little bit of dehydrating. And I use that term very specifically because we don't want to have this sticky quality. We don't want to dehydrate the body. We still need to keep that plasma, the rasa and the rakta, the blood, the fluids, stable and working in a nourishing manner. So I don't want you to think of dehydrating with liquids or with your good oils, your ghees, or those sorts of things. But I want you to think of using the breath, like we did with Breath of Joy, as a way to begin to create more air moving through, to decrease the heavy, wet quality in the body. And the same thing with Agnisara, which increases fire, which will dehydrate the excess moisture in the body. There are some things we can do with foods. For example, we want to decrease the sweet and sour taste because they can be sticky and heavy, and increase a little bit more of the pungent, which is that sort of chili-like taste, that peppers that we might have, to increase some warming and some air. That's what the two qualities of pungent, and maybe a little bit of bitter as an additive to, again, create more light and ether in the body. So I hope you have a wonderful, animated, stimulated, heart-healthy day. And I hope that you find that you can come to any of these asana, even just one, into your practice to decrease some of those heavy, dull, and sticky qualities that can happen for our Kapha queens as they move into this beautiful menopausal stage of life.